Welcome to the printing and assembly guide for Ezra's 3D printed collapsible blaster saber. This model features a collapsible blade and blade lock, as well as a fully functional blaster with up to 5 repeating shots. Before we get started, if you would like to print this model, head on over to my shop where you'll find all my free and paid models. Link in description. Right, jumping into the slicer, you can see that I'm using Creality Print. You can use any slicer you want. Most of the settings are standard across all the slicers. Just find the equivalent on your slicer of whatever I'm doing, and you should be good to go. So, some settings off the bat. I'm printing with a 0.4mm nozzle, and I'm printing at a 0.12mm height. That's just my preference. It helps with definition for some of the parts that I'll show later, but you can also print at 0.2mm height. So for printing, I'm mainly going to talk about the orientation and supports. This is for the lightsaber hilt exclusively. I have a separate video for printing blades, please go check that out. As for the wall loops, infill, speed, that's your preference. You can change those settings, you can use my settings, it doesn't really matter. It won't affect the functionality of the model. So for wall loops, I like to use 2. Infill, I got 15% infill. I'm using this rectilinear pattern. For speed, you're welcome to pause the video, see what settings I'm using. These settings don't print very fast. I'm more worried about accuracy and detail. So up next, I want to show you the base orientation for some of the parts and which parts require supports. So first off, let's start with the cores. So the core prints in 2 parts, and I like to print them lying down like this. Of course, this is going to require some supports. So if I just slice that, you can see that it puts supports in the middle here. Now you can do tree supports or normal supports like I do. It doesn't really matter. And on this program, Creality Print, you can get away with a threshold of 15. Now, if you're printing on a smaller printer, you might want to maybe print them one by one, and then just show you maybe rotate it lengthwise like that and put it corner to corner. Right, next up is the lower handle. Best way to print this is right side up like that. You see it drop in supports there, that's how we want it. Just to mention, like this curve here, this is where I'd recommend you have 0.12 print height, millimeter print height. If you're going to do any post-processing like sanding or painting, it will make this a little easier to deal with. All right, for the handle, just print it standing upright like this. For safety, depending on how your bed adhesion is, you might want to use brim. So for the blaster part, you can see that it's broken up into a few pieces. This is the part that will actually go around the core. This part that will actually slide in here, be secured here. And then this is an extension added to the bottom there. You'll need to print these with some supports. You can see that there are some overhangs that require supports. At the bottom, you can see some cutouts here that will need supports. Up next, we got the firing mechanism inside of the blaster. You can see we have the 2 loading arms, the main chamber, and the hammer. The hammer part will require supports because you got these 2 overhangs here. So if I hit slice, you can see it will just generate some supports there, as well as underneath this circular part here. All right, up next we have the magazine. I like to call this a magazine because this is the mechanism that will actually push the bullets up into the barrel. So it's printed in 3 parts like this. These 2 parts, very straightforward, just print them lying down. This overhang will need some supports over here. Slice that. Okay, so you can see, oh, I got a brim on there. You don't really need a brim for these 2 parts. Let me just take that away. Here we go. You don't really need a brim for these 2 parts, all right? But you do need supports for those 2. Now, for the main body, you'll have to print this standing up. But I've printed this multiple times. If you have good bed adhesion, there should be no problem to print this. The pommel is printed in two parts. This threaded part will need supports. If I just flip this over, you can see these cutouts here. That's alignment pins to help you glue these two together after printing. Alright, so the emitter is also printed in a few parts because it's got this blade stub that needs to be fitted in here. I'll just show you. So this is the top side. You can see this will slide in there, but you got these little overhangs here. You can see it just added some supports there. This model is assembled with additional hardware. Take a moment to make sure you have everything listed on the screen. Starting off with the lower handle, insert the pin before placing the cover and securing with screws. I used a piece of silver filament offcut for the buckle clip. Bend it to shape and melt ends together. Assembling the handle. Start by placing the core parts together and sliding the handle parts over it. Pay attention to the correct orientation of each part. Secure the lower handle with a screw. The main blaster compartment and mag extension are aligned with pins and secured with a screw. You can also use glue to permanently bond these parts. Assembling the blaster, start by gluing the hammer and the hammer pin together and placing the hammer between the chamber rails and partly securing them with screws. Next, secure the trigger to the main blaster compartment. Carefully seat the rubber bands while paying attention to guide the rubber bands around the mounting pins. Place the loading arms on either side of the assembled blaster chamber and carefully guide it into place. Take care not to snag the rubber bands. Secure the chamber rails in place with screws before guiding the rubber band around the hammer and seating them above the rail. Secure rubber bands with the band locks. Place the core bracket over the cores and guide the assembled blaster compartment into place before securing it with screws on either side. Secure the blaster covers on either side. The top cover is held in place by sliding and clipping the blaster shield over it. Finally, screw the safety switch into place. Use some WD-40 on a Q-tip to coat the blade lock before inserting it into the emitter. The emitter cover and ring can be glued in place. Join the two pommel parts together with glue. The blades can be inserted into the cores at this point before securing them with the pommel. The emitter slides into place at a 40-degree angle before twisting into the lock position. Add a screw to the top to secure it in place. Future editing show here. I've since removed the second screw after realizing it's redundant. Alright, back to the video. Thread a rubber band through the follower before sliding it into place. The next part is fairly tricky. You'll have to feed the looping ends of the rubber band on either side of the follower. Use a precision tweezer for this part. Once the loops are in place, add the cover and secure it with screws, while making sure that the screws go through the loops. Add one more screw to the bottom of the mag, and then, while holding down the follower, slide the mag into place. The muzzle parts can now be glued together, and then finally glued to the main blaster compartment. The loader is secured to the protruding loading arms at the back of the blaster. To extend the blade, retract the blade lock first. After collapsing the blade, the blades can be secured with a blade lock. To load the bullets, remove the magazine. While holding the blaster upside down, add the bullets one at a time. The magazine can take up to 5 bullets. Replace the magazine and the bullets are now ready to be chambered. Although this is a low-powered shooter, Always use eye protection and never aim at another person. The bullets are chambered by pulling the loader at the back until you hear a clicking sound. Manually return the loader to its original position and the blaster is ready to fire. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.